I'm Tori.
And I'm Karen.
But we just call her Mom.
And this is your comfort coming of age podcast.
For all the times that you just need to call your mom.
We talk about everything from how to host a dinner party to what books we're reading and current events to do you just ever feel old enough?
This podcast is how to adult from two perspectives with lots of family banter along the way. So join us as we navigate life for the very first time and as my mom and I grow up together. This podcast is for everyone, whether you have a great relationship with your mom or a strained relationship, maybe you're missing a relationship, your mom might have passed. My mom is now your mom, and she's all of our mom. And this is for when you just need to call your mom. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Tor. How are you?
Fantastic.
Good day?
Yeah, I'm having a great day.
Yeah, me too. Fun day.
For the most part.
For the most part?
Ringo.
Oh, yeah. Well,
sorry to bring it up.
Yeah, we have a sick dog at home. He's old.
He's old, yeah.
He'll be all right.
We hope. We really hope. So, Ringo, this one's for you. We love you, Mr. Ringo.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. But other than that, I'm having a great day.
Yeah, it's been a fun day.
Yeah. Do you want to tell them what we're doing in the background of this, if you guys are watching on YouTube
What?
or even on Spotify, because I have a video
How
on
did you
Spotify.
do that, by the way?
I'm a wizard.
I didn't know Spotify could do video ones.
No, I would like to say I'm a wizard, but that's why I wanted the podcast to be first on Spotify, because I just think they're like really advanced in their podcasting, even though Apple Podcasts charts are like king. But I have beef with Apple right now just because they're making it so difficult to get this podcast on Apple.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of people message us saying they don't have Spotify and where can they listen? And
YouTube is the place to go if you don't have Apple or if you don't have Spotify.
Right.
Go to YouTube, and that's where we are.
For now,
until I figure it out with Apple. Until we sign to a network. So if you want to sign our show, let us know.
That's another way around it.
They can handle it.
That's right.
They will handle it.
That's right.
Yeah. But in the background, we're making our reel from last week's recipe.
Right.
Which is the carne asada tacos.
Yes.
And my apartment already smells amazing.
I know. I can't wait till it's done.
I can't wait until it's done. Will you be here? You won't eat it with me tonight, or will you?
Daddy will probably be at the club. Maybe I'll come over for dinner.
Yeah, that'd be so fun.
Okay.
Oh my God, we can spend all day together.
If you're inviting me.
Yeah, of course I am.
And how about yesterday when we ran into each other in the wild?
Yeah, that was so crazy to me.
That never happened.
No, that was so crazy. So let's set the scene for you guys. So we get pedicures once a month and it's like our ritual. We always go to the same pedicure place. We love going there. They give really long leg massages, but they hate when I ask for gel pedicures because I throw everything off for them. But like, I want a gel.
Right.
Whatever. I told my mom that I'm going to Target after the pedicures.
Right.
And she just says, okay, have fun. Da da da.
Okay. Also, let me preface that when you were moving in here, your big dilemma was like, oh, I'm going to have to go to the other Target now. Like the one near our old house is farther from you than the other one. So you were like, oh, I have to switch Targets now. So that's kind of floating in the back of my mind. When you said you were going to Target, I assumed you're coming towards your house.
To the other Target.
To the other Target.
But we were closer to your Target.
Yes, but it was way out of your way.
Kind of not. So anyway, I'm in Target. And I'm just like looking around. I meant to just go to the food section and then leave because I had friends coming over last night and I had to like get stuff for an appetizer for friends. And I, ended up in the makeup section and just like, that's what happens when you're in Target. And I look up and who do I see? My mother in the wild.
Yeah. I wasn't stalking you, I swear.
Have you ever seen your mom just living not as your mom? Like, that was so wild.
The look on your face, you would have thought you saw a giraffe walk by.
Because I did.
Like, real.
I've never seen you in the world being a human other than my mom.
Mm-hmm. That is a very funny concept.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen me being anyone except your daughter?
No, I guess not.
So why didn't you have that reaction? You even walked by me.
I did
and
walk
you didn't
by.
Even know
I
it
did.
was
I
me.
walked right by you.
I was looking at a bag. I picked it up. I put it in my cart. And then 5 minutes after we reunited in Target, she goes, oh, you were the one looking at that bag.
That is correct. All of that is correct.
Like,
I just didn't even place it. I was like, nope, didn't even place you.
It was so crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, while you're here, you want to come shopping with me? And we went shopping in Target together. We had a great time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Got everything for your appetizer.
Yeah, which is this week's recipe.
Right. That is this week's recipe. We're kind of jumping around now.
We are. It's so good. We'll get to it in a little bit, but it's so good.
Yes. Agreed.
Wow. Yeah. So seeing my mom in the wild was like the craziest thing to ever happen to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
it
was just so wild. But how was your weekend?
Weekend was a lot of fun. Mother's Day was good. We were at the beach. We had a nice brunch, and then I took a nice long nap after my mimosas.
I had a mimosa.
You had a mimosa.
Yes. So this was my first drink in about 20 months.
Mm-hmm.
And the first sip was so weird. It was like, this feels illegal, but it's not.
Right.
And it didn't taste incredible, but by the end it did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice. And then I also took a 4-hour nap. So maybe that was the champagne.
Maybe. I'm sure it contributes.
Yeah. We also when we make mimosas at home, we typically use Prosecco.
Yes.
So I probably
it's a little
was expecting
sweeter.
something sweeter.
Yeah.
And I saw the bartender. The whole thing was champagne with like
just
a dash.
Splash of orange juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess is how people prefer it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm more of like an equal ratio girl.
Okay.
But whatever.
Yeah, I think you do like it sweeter. Sometimes we'll add the splash of grenadine too, make it a sunrise mimosa.
Yeah, we like that. There's this place in Idaho that put us onto that.
Goldie's.
Shout out Goldie's. Their mimosas are in the size of a fishbowl.
Yeah, huge mimosa.
Huge.
Wonderful.
Really good.
Yeah. Anyway,
so yeah, I had my first drink.
Yes, and I had a nice long nap. Very relaxing Mother's Day, and as did you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got up and said, all right, I got to go for a walk. And that was my 7th day in a row of exercising.
Woo!
I know. So I went for a 4-mile walk. I did that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Felt really good. I put in my AirPods and I put an audiobook on there. I was listening to Icebreaker on audiobook on Spotify and just walked. And that book lasted for freaking ever.
Which is so funny you say that because I read it and you listen to it and you're like, was the book long? I'm like, no, it was like a normal 350-page book or so.
I think it was like 450. I looked it up.
Oh.
But it felt so long. I listened to it on the way to the beach. That's 2 hours. Each of my 4-mile walks, I took 4 of them. That's 4 hours. Mm-hmm. I listened to it the whole way home from the beach. That's another 2 hours. So that's 8 hours of listening.
And you sped it up?
Right there. And I sped it up.
What speed do you put it to?
1.2. I mean, not super fast, but I wanted them to sound like normal humans and not chipmunks.
Yeah.
So, 1.2. And then towards the end, I was like, there's 30 minutes left. So I came home and finished it at home after I was already out of the car.
What'd you think of the ending?
I
thought you read Icebreaker before.
No, I hadn't read it. This was the first. I liked it. Why? Did you not like the ending?
No, I thought it was super cute. I just thought it was so wrapped up in a bow.
Oh, very tidy. Very tidy. Very predictable. I mean, there was nothing earth-shattering about it as a form of literature or anything. It was fine. It was a cute book.
22, though, with the ending, which kind of ties into our topic today.
Yes, it does.
Of advice from your 20s that you stopped caring about.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna hit on that.
Yeah, that's part of it. But I really like the book. It was one of my 5 stars from 2023.
Yeah, it really was very cute. Nate is such a golden retriever.
Oh my God, he's so cute, isn't he?
Really cute boyfriend. I mean, you could totally see it.
Fan cast him as Jacob Elordi, which rocks.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
That rocks.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, very cute. Are they making that into a movie or something?
No, not a movie, but there's a second book. It's called Wildfire, I think, and it follows. Oh God, I can't remember. I read it though. I can't remember who it follows.
One of the characters.
One
in
of
that
the hockey teams. One of the hockey boys.
Was it Henry?
No, but he's the next one.
Oh,
his comes out in I think August.
Okay.
It was June, but it was pushed back.
Okay.
I forget who it was.
Henry was cute. I could see them making a good story with Henry.
It wasn't JJ. It was someone else that was just like.
Was it Lola and Robbie?
No. It was kind of like an underwhelming character in the first book, and then he got his own in the second. It was cute. It was fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, So yeah, you walked a lot. Is that your tip for walking to like save audiobooks? And stuff?
Definitely. The audiobook thing definitely helped. I guess also I'm just tired of the music that I have or whatever. Like you can only make so many playlists out of music that you like. And it's like then sometimes when a song comes on, you're like, I'm not feeling it. And you want to skip it. And I'm like, this isn't helping. It's not helping me get into just escape where I can just walk. So the audiobook thing has definitely helped.
Yeah.
That was great.
Audiobooks, podcasts. You could always listen to this podcast on your walk.
Yes, this podcast.
Or Manifest with Tori Simone.
Be a nice hour-long break from reality for sure.
I do the same thing. I save podcasts for walks. I don't listen to audiobooks as much on walks because I listen to like mostly podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And lately, Tortured Poets Department.
What is it?
Taylor Swift.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a Swiftie. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I used to not be either.
I know. You were adamantly against Taylor Swift when you were like 8.
I was. I hated Teardrops on my guitar. Hated it.
You would scream every time that song came on.
Yeah.
Turn it off.
Yeah, and then COVID hit and I became a Swiftie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens.
It is. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
So save your audiobook, save your podcast for your walk. It makes them so much more enjoyable.
It does. It really does.
Beyond. So yeah, we planned this episode during our pedicures, which we talked about very briefly before. Mm-hmm. But what I thought was so funny was that at the end of our pedicure, I don't know if you noticed that the woman that talked to you at the end, she was sitting next to you the whole time
I
too.
saw her.
And she was like looking at us the whole time. So I think she was really interested in what we were talking about.
She was eavesdropping on us.
Yeah. And we should have told her, we have a podcast, tell your daughters if you have daughters,
right.
Or just tell your friends, whatever. This podcast really appeals to anyone, any age.
It can, yes.
Your age range, my age range, anywhere in between, younger. It's the perfect podcast, if I do say so myself. But I think she was really engaged in what we were saying. Anyway, you were talking about reading because she was saying that I was giving you a hard time about reading, whatever. She just didn't know our relationship.
Right.
Anyway, what I found so funny was that at the nail salon, there's these like plants and the pots that they're in, the base of them are full of water.
And it has just a wick that it sucks the water up into the plant.
So why is that so significant? Because
all you have to do when you see the water go down, then you fill it. But the plant is always watering itself from below. Mm. So
like in the ground?
Well, if you water the ground, it needs water.
In nature, like if it rains?
Yes. If it rains, it just sucks water out of the ground or whatever. So
is that art imitating life?
Oh, wow, you're getting very philosophical.
Well, I just thought it was funny because in the nail salon, she was like, I love these pots. And I wrote it down. She said that she bought them because her peace lilies weren't doing well.
Well, that's what those plants were.
Oh, how did you know that?
Because I have 2 of them at home.
Of
I
course
just
you
know
do.
what they are. One of them was a gift years ago when Nana died.
You've kept it alive since Nana?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the one in our bedroom has been around since Nana died.
Do you water it?
Of course.
How often?
Not as often as I should.
I've never seen you water a plant in the house.
Well, you don't live there.
I did.
Okay, but you're not in my bedroom. I see it at night. It looks a little thirsty. I give it some water before I go to bed.
And you've kept it alive for 8 years?
Yeah. Yeah. But
wow.
When we're away at the beach, we come home and those plants are really unhappy.
And you revive them?
And yes, I water them and hope they come back, and they always do. But
you should buy those
a pot
pots.
like that would certainly be useful because then I could load it up before we go and it won't starve to death.
So I'm leaving for the shore on Friday for like months. If I wanted plants, do I have to get those to like keep it alive?
Yeah. Are you getting plants?
No.
Okay.
If I was.
Yeah. How about let's wait till you get back and then you can tackle plants.
Okay. There's a lot of things I have to tackle in this apartment, but we won't get into that. It's boring. We've talked about that for the past 2 weeks. Mom, do you notice that I'm sitting cross-legged in jeans?
I know you love those jeans.
I got these new jeans, you guys. I'm obsessed with them. They're from Madewell. They are, I think they're called the Harlow jeans.
Okay.
And the material it's literally sweatpants. I think it's Rag & Bone has like sweatpants that look like jeans.
Right.
These are actual denim jeans that feel like sweatpants.
Yeah, they're just loose and
they're
comfy.
really loose. It's like when you need to look presentable, but you don't want to wear pants. Like this is the pant.
Well, yeah, it's a trouser cut for
it's
sure.
A trouser cut.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not a jean cut.
And it's pleated.
Which on me would not be a good look, I don't think.
I think you should really try them on. Go to the store, try them on, and then make your judgments.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm really, really obsessed with them, and they're lightweight enough for summer, which I'm thrilled about.
On you, that's very cute. But
Thank
on me,
you.
I'm not sure the pleats would be a good look.
Try it out. Don't count yourself out yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the book rec, Mom.
I read a good one this week. It was called Kyland by Mia Sheridan. She is also the author of Archer's Voice, which I loved also. Read that a few months ago and heard good things about Kyland, but just got around to reading it. And it's a really sweet story about two kids, obviously a boy and a girl, who live in extreme poverty in Appalachia in Kentucky, like in this coal mining mountain town in Kentucky. And they both are very smart kids, and they are competing with each other for a scholarship, a full scholarship put on by the owner of the coal mine in town. They want to get out of town. Both of them do. And, of course, they fall in love along the way, but only one of them can win the scholarship. And it's a really, really, really sweet story. And Mia Sheridan wrote it so well, like all the aspects of poverty and walking literally 6 miles to school, just to get to school. Walk 6 miles there, 6 miles back.
If you ask Dad, that's what he did too.
Of course, every dad did that, uphill both ways in the snow, yeah. But it just was a really great story. I really enjoyed the way she wrote the characters, and the way she wrote the story was great.
How'd you find this book? Was it on just Unlimited, or was it like a rec from TikTok?
This was Kindle Unlimited, and it was, since I had read Archer's Voice, kind of at the end of the book, it tells you also by this author. So sometimes I'll go through there. Like, I really liked Archer's Voice, looked up a couple of her other books, so I look them up on Goodreads and kind of get a feel for what people think about it. And this one got high reviews, so I was like, oh, I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
Really liked it.
I want to read that.
Yeah, it was a nice, easy read. And it almost was one of these, makes you feel a little bit, makes you think a little bit, kind of like Kristen Hanna's books do. Mm-hmm. So I really liked it.
So Appalachia, it's the mountain range, and it starts where? North Carolina?
To be true, I don't know. The Appalachian Trail goes all the way. I mean, it goes 1,200 miles or something. Oh, like it's a huge, long stretch. So what you would consider Appalachia in America, I don't know the exact locations, but this was in the Kentucky mountains. Yeah.
Speaking of book recs and things, we were getting a few questions last week about like where we can find the book recs, where you can find the recipes of the week. We made a link tree, and the link tree is in our bio on our Instagram and in the description of our Spotify videos, episodes, and YouTube episodes as well. So click the link tree. We update it every week with everything that you need.
Yeah, so the books are in there.
The books recs will be in there. I have them linked on my LTK, and it links to Amazon, but we recommend just shopping at like a local bookstore before Amazon.
Yeah. Or check Kindle Unlimited if you have it.
Yes.
Instead of buying,
obviously. Or Prime Reading. Prime Reading has a lot of good books too.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to what you were saying. Yeah, that sounds like a really good book.
I really enjoyed it.
And I want to read it.
Yeah.
Have you been seeing stuff on TikTok too about like the Appalachia whispers?
No.
I haven't really either, but some people like...
Wait, are you back on TikTok?
No, I'm not back on TikTok. Okay. This was when I was on it. And it was a hole that I didn't really want to go down. But I was like, okay, whatever. So I didn't know if you heard about it, but I saw this one TikTok one time and it was like when it's late at night in Appalachia. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. It's not Appalachia.
I think you can, I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to say it.
I don't know either.
Like some people say Caribbean, some people say Caribbean.
Caribbean, right.
New Orleans, New Orleans.
What do you say?
New Orleans.
Because you went to Tulane.
I did. That's a whole other story for a whole other thing. If we ever talk about college.
We will definitely do a college episode.
We'll talk about college.
But anyway, this girl was like, when it's like late at night and you hear like a knock on the door or something or like whispers. And I guess people think it's haunted.
The whole region? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I really don't know what I'm talking about though. So tell us.
Yeah, if that's a thing,
let us know.
Not trying to spread rumors. We just want to know.
Appalachia is such a crazy place because that's kind of where Dope Sick took place, right?
Yeah. It's in these rural, deep woods towns, which is a huge part of America.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of America that is off the beaten path. And it's easy to overlook a lot of cultural changes and cultural differences that happen everywhere in this country.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. That's why I love reading books like that just brings a whole other realm of reality to the forefront of your mind, because why else would I ever be reading about a coal mining town in Kentucky?
Right.
I wouldn't. Like, it's just not, it's so far from my reality, but that doesn't mean I didn't find it fascinating. Yeah. And this isn't like a real life nonfiction book, but so I don't know how accurate she was with any of it, but it really brought it, I could see it. You know what I mean? She did a nice job of painting a really good picture, and I could picture this town.
That's another TikTok that I saw was a European was like, Europeans find it crazy when Americans say that they've never traveled outside of America, but America's so diverse and like where you go that you don't need to travel outside of America to get a completely different climate or experience than where they currently live. But in Europe, like, traveling to different countries is like nothing in Europe.
So true. There was one TikToker, Josh from England is his TikTok, that I followed him for a long time last summer. And he was a British guy and he wanted to visit America. It's he and a friend, another TikToker whose name is escaping me, but they came to America. They started in the South. They started, I think, in North Carolina, went down to Florida, over to Texas. And his videos were just hilarious. His TikToks where he's like, we've been driving for 12 hours and I'm still in Texas. Like, he doesn't, he's like, if I were driving anywhere in Europe for 12 hours, I would have passed through 4 countries by now, He's like, it's just astonishing how big this country is. But watching him literally get his mind blown was just so fun to watch.
But I guess my question is, like, in Europe, the countries are close, but are they that different from one another?
Oh, yeah.
They are?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, why?
Well,
you have I've barely been to Europe.
I know. You have a different language, a different government, a different everything, depending on each country.
So true.
So, it's all part of the European Union, and now you can use common currency. Oh. When I was over in Italy for school, there was no common currency. So you just had to exchange money every time you crossed a border. Or you use American dollars. That usually worked.
They took it?
Always. Oh. But anyway, so between you, just like here, you need a passport to go from America to Mexico. You need your passport to travel if you're going on a train through 3 or 4 countries.
Yeah, obviously the passport thing makes sense. But in my mind, like, if we were to go from PA to Florida, let's say, 12 hours, 15, 18 hours, whatever, in a car, like, it's going to be different. Like, we're going to be in the South.
Right.
We're going to travel through, Georgia, Alabama, like the South, Tennessee, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be crazy different, but it's not going to be like a giant culture shock. But I guess in Europe it would be because it's a different government.
Yeah, it's different language, different everything.
Fascinating.
So it is.
We need a European summer soon.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
How about you take me?
One.
How about you take me on vacation?
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice.
Would you go to Europe? Do you want to go?
Yeah.
Where do you want to go?
Italy first.
Why?
Because I'm Italian.
Okay.
So I got to go.
Okay.
And you and Dad talk about
we love
the
Italy.
food. Like, it's amazing.
It is.
I thought I was going to Italy with you guys once.
Yeah, sorry.
So what happened was it was for their anniversary. So I should have known, but like
our 25th anniversary, not just anyone.
Okay, but like, I'm your whole world. Am I not? Like, you guys, like, are Maddie and I not your whole world?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So I get a text and it says, we're going to Italy on these dates. And I was like, oh my God, frick yeah. Like, I'm so excited. I said, woo. And then he said, can you watch Ringo?
That is correct.
And I'm like, oh, I'm not going. Sure.
Yeah, that's how
I'll watch Ringo. You guys had a great time. And that's been the best trip because ever since then, Dad makes homemade pasta like it's his job.
Yeah. Well,
so that was a good investment to the family.
Yeah. Well, we did a food and wine tour while we were over there, and we took a pasta making class. And so we learned the perfect recipe to make your perfect hand-rolled pasta. And I was like, so that's what we've been doing ever since.
And now you guys get imported flour from Italy.
We do. We buy that Italian flour on Amazon.
We'll link it
instead of the American processed garbage.
Yeah, we feels
like much better.
I mean, everyone says when you go to Italy and you eat their food, you don't feel sick.
People who are gluten-free here, because they feel awful, maybe not celiac necessarily, but they feel awful when they eat gluten, can go to Italy or to France, eat bread, eat pasta. They're fine. It's the ingredients.
So I will link that flour if you guys want it.
Yeah, use it for bread, use it for pasta for sure. Why not?
So my big development in reading is that I'm starting ACOTAR for good.
For real?
For real. Like I started on audiobook and then I switched to reading and then I stopped. I just haven't been reading much this year. Mm-hmm. But last night I was with friends and they were like, have you read ACOTAR? And I told them like started, whatever, blah, blah. And they were like, you have to do it. So I was so inspired and I picked it up this morning and started reading it again.
I have not read them all either. But I did see that recently on the audio or on the Audible Stuff Your Earpods Day a couple of weeks ago that all of the ACOTAR, the whole first series was for free.
Did you do it?
So I downloaded them onto Audible. So I have those. So I'll slowly get into those, I guess, while I'm walking or on the elliptical or whatever at the gym. That'll be my new series for that.
Nice.
So we'll see.
Okay.
I'll try it.
We'll be ACOTAR girlies together.
I'll try it.
Yeah, we'll try. Yeah, I'm excited.
Fantasy usually isn't my wheelhouse.
But you liked Fourth Wing.
I did like Fourth Wing, and I did like Harry Potter, for example.
Yeah, you loved Harry Potter.
I really did. So I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
But it isn't my usual go-to.
And I think I'm more excited to read Throne of Glass, which is by the same author, but everyone says read ACOTAR first. Even though they're not like related, they're like cousins.
They feed on each other or something.
Kind of. And it's like you'll appreciate Throne of Glass series more if you have read ACOTAR first.
Okay. That's 5 books away. Like you have to finish 5 books in order to get to Throne of Glass.
Oh, are there not 7 in ACOTAR? I thought there were 7.
There?
I don't know. All I know is that
I downloaded 5.
Okay, then
maybe there's
5.
more.
No, there's probably 5.
Maybe I'm missing one. I don't know.
All I know is that they're pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to take hours. I'm going to wither away to nothing while I'm listening. If only.
You're going to get so tiny.
Well, that's the plan. We'll see.
All right. Let's talk about why we called you this week.
Yeah.
Maddie called you with a major announcement.
She did.
My sister.
She did. She was actually listening to our very first podcast where we talk about her in it. And she called me and she said, hey, listen, I just need to let you know, this is my fault for not letting you know before. Every time I'm introducing myself to somebody new, I'm using my full name, which is Madeline. And I'm like, oh, okay. So she wants to go by Madeline now, which is wonderful. I mean, that's kind of why we named you Victoria and her Madeline, because Karen, there's no nickname for her. I always wanted a name that could be shortened. I felt like I'm an adult already with this big grown-up name.
Yeah, you were 2 years old named Karen.
Right? It's weird. So I wanted a name that for each of you that could be shortened, but you could use, if you're in a professional circle and you want to use your full name, you absolutely can. So that was the purpose of it. So, of course, she can use Madeline if she wants, but I've known her as Maddie for 27 years. Like, I don't know how to do that.
We're trying.
I will try.
We're going to try. Whenever we refer to Maddie, it will be Madeline. We're trying our best.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's not a different person. It's still
her.
Still my daughter, and your sister.
And my sister.
But Madeline. And
we think she's coming in July, which is so exciting.
Yes. Because she is a huge fan of the Basement Yard podcast. And they're coming in July to Atlantic City. Mm-hmm. So the tickets went on sale yesterday. I was able to get tickets. So I'm literally bribing her.
And it worked.
I have tickets. And she said, oh, you do? Well, then we'll come.
Yeah.
So she's coming.
We're so excited.
Yes.
She hasn't been to the shore since 2021.
No, I know.
I'm so excited.
So thanks, Basement Yard, for getting
thank you,
Madeline
Basement
here.
Yard. Yeah. So excited. And then the reason I called my mom was because You guys are going to learn that my parents are king and queen of happy hour. Like, they're the ultimate vibe setters. Like, if you guys were to ever come to our houses or our beach house, come 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, 5, whatever. Music's on, drinks in hand. They have appetizers on just like a random day. Like, they are the happy hour people.
We love happy hour.
It's the happiest hour. Like,
That's right.
They're so good at it. And I think grandma's always been like that too.
Yes. Well, I grew up in a very, like, every day when my dad would get home from work, he would take the train to work, and then he'd park at the train station, take the train into the city, come back, drive home. He'd get home, whatever. My mom literally had a drink in her hand to hand him when he walked in the door.
They're so old school.
Yeah. And there was always, whether it was chips and dip or carrots and, well, not hummus. We didn't do hummus way back then.
You guys did like
ranch dip, something like that. But
just pickies.
Yeah, there was always some little snacky before dinner.
Hors d'oeuvres, as Grandma would say in her French accent.
Yes, some sort of hors d'oeuvre. And then he would sit down in his suit and have his drink and because he wore a 3-piece suit every day to work.
Oh my God, you grew up so traditional.
That's the way it was.
That's so wild. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm having flashbacks of sometimes I would iron his shirts for him before he went off to work. Like if he didn't, we would take him to the cleaners, but he liked them boxed and not hung. And he didn't like heavy starch, just light starch on the shirts. Like these were things I had to learn.
You're so traditional.
Mm-hmm. That was how I grew up.
So you always had
we always had the
dinner.
Snacks. Yeah. It was always.
Yeah.
So, and Grandma now, I think that's all she eats. She just picks.
Yeah.
She doesn't sit down for a whole meal. She just nibbles all day long.
Yeah.
So
that has now become less traditional and more fun. Like my mom and dad, they are just the vibe setters when it comes to happy hour. So I was having friends over yesterday, and who better to ask for what appetizer should I have out? What drink should I be having out for my friends that are coming over? It ended up that like it was a Tuesday night and no one wanted to drink anyway. So no one had.
So drinks wasn't a problem.
Wasn't a problem. I did get the lemon lime poppy, and that was really good.
Yeah.
Tastes just like Sprite.
Oh,
it's really good.
Oh, I'll have to try that.
Yeah. I have one in the fridge if you want one. But I wanted a recipe that I could like make for my friends that was so good and really good for happy hour. So it's going to be the recipe of the week this week.
Okay.
So why don't you explain it? Because you made it.
I did. And it was one that I really just kind of made up in my head. Like I can't take too much credit for any of the recipes that I make, but this one I did just concoct. And it's basically called a hot honey cheese spread. We'll call it, right?
Yeah. Well, hot pepper jelly. There's not hot honey in it.
Well, there's hot honey on top. Or did you forget that part?
I forgot that, which is my favorite part.
I love hot honey. It wasn't as good as you should have been.
Whatever. You explain it. It was liquidy when I made it. You're going to make it much better.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll make it this week, and I'll be sure to show everybody. But
we'll post
it's really very simple. It's cream cheese and shredded cheddar cheese, which is also better if you don't do the pre-shredded. Shred it yourself. Hot pepper jelly, which might be hard to find in some areas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We'll link below the one that we use, and you can order it online.
I think you can buy it online.
We love hot pepper jelly.
Diced craisins, diced dried apricots, and that's it. You mix all that together, and then you can heat it or not. You can eat it cold. You can heat it up a little bit. That's great. But then when you're serving it, just drizzle hot honey over the top of it and serve it over crackers.
So good.
It's delicious.
It is so good. Yeah, we'll make a recipe reel video like we did with the carne asada tacos.
Yeah, we'll do that again.
So go look for that on our Instagram, which is at Let Me Call My Mom Pod. And it's seriously so good, and it's so easy. I made it in 10 minutes. Like it was so quick.
And it makes kind of a big tub of it, so you can have it around. That's a nice little snack.
And it's delicious. A sweet cheese, like who doesn't love a sweet,
tangy with the pepper jelly in it?
Cheese. Yeah, like it's so good.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, if you've ever just had pepper jelly and cream cheese together, it's delicious.
Yeah,
so this just kind of adds to that with some more texture.
Yeah. So more happy hour stuff from the happy hour royalty as well. But for this week, that's what the recipe is. And I'm really excited because I get to eat that later in the week because we get to make it.
There you go.
I'm so excited. All right. We ask you guys on our Instagram on Tuesdays at Let Me Call My Mom Pod for any questions that you want to either be answered on the podcast, on the stories. And actually, today's whole episode topic came from a question as well. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But one of the questions that we wanted to answer on the podcast for our question segment is, what are the tips for maintaining a clean home?
Which is a good question. And everybody's in a different stage of what their home means, whether it's a dorm room or an apartment or, you know, a home with kids or whatever. You probably have your own tips. Like you said, when you first bought your condo, you were like, oh, geez, I have to do this now. Like it
didn't even dawn on me until I had a roommate move in and she would clean a lot. And then I was like, oh, I should clean. Well, like I would just have things be tidy. And if things were dusty, I'd just wipe the dust off. Right. And if there was like a splash on the counter, like I'd wipe it up. Like I thought I was always being, and like I'd vacuum and stuff, but like I didn't really think about like, I just thought a tidy house was a clean house.
And it's the sort of thing that
I was also 18, guys. I don't live in filth.
Right. Yeah, you were 18
I'm
at the
clean
time.
now.
But it also, the entire time you were in school, from kindergarten through senior in high school, I was a stay-at-home mom. And I did all of that stuff when you weren't around.
Right.
So you never saw it happen. You just came home to a clean house all the time.
Except when you guys were having parties.
Oh, yeah. Then we were clean.
Cinderella. Like we were scrubbing the floors. Like we were working.
Well, yeah.
We earned our allowance those weeks.
Yeah. When we were having big parties, yes. There was always work to be done. But the point
I can smell those parties. Like it smells like the Lemon Pledge. Like that's what it smells like. And I can hear Daughtry playing in the background with your happy hour playlist on your iPod Nano.
You're really diving back in the memory bank. That's so funny.
Well, we grew up together, Mom.
Yep, we did. Yeah, so the tip I have for me, you may have a different one, is just do a little bit each day. So it doesn't feel like you're doing a ton of things. You know, Monday you vacuum, Tuesday you dust or whatever. But each thing only takes 15, 20 minutes. And then by the end of the week, the whole house has been touched. Everything is clean. And you just rotate. That's all. You just have to do a little at a time.
That's a great tip. And I also think if you set a timer and just kind of challenge yourself, like how much can I get done in 10 minutes, you'll see it really doesn't take as long as you think. And it kind of becomes like a fun game. Mm-hmm. And if you have the means, it does help to hire a cleaning
service
person.
Yeah, once a month or something.
Yeah, once a month, every other week, like whatever you want to do, or before like a big event or something.
Right. Yeah. I do default to that now. Like if we're having a Christmas party or something like that, I'm like, no, I gotta get somebody in here. Because it's a lot.
And it supports the economy.
Right. That's right.
Supports the economy.
That's the plan.
All right, well, let's get into today's topic. I'm really excited to hear your perspective on what we're going to be talking about. And this was submitted to us from Mrs. Alexis Watts on Instagram. So thank you for submitting this.
This turned into our whole topic today.
Do you want to explain what it is?
Alexis asked, what are things that we worry about in our 20s that you stop worrying about when you get older or wiser or whatever the case may be? And that's very true. There's so many stresses. I see it a lot. I see younger people, your age people, really getting stressed about a lot, about life. Now, that's not to say I didn't get stressed about similar things at that time in life, but unless you were talking to your 5 friends about it, you'd have no way of knowing. But the fact that social media just lets everybody into everyone's world, it's so easy to get really caught up in stuff. So I can understand how your age is super stressed about things.
Yeah.
So why don't you start with like, what are 3 or 4 things that stress you out? And then I can give kind of my perspective on that as well.
Yeah. And I also think, to go off with what you're saying, your we even just a few hours ago when we were filming our recipe, we were saying how Madeline, can't even say it, Madeline is turning 28. Right. And then you said, I had her at 28.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy to me. So even having that generational conversation is weird, and it brings in that factor of comparison too. But I also think the millennials and the Gen Z and anything after are some of the first to really be delaying a lot of like societal timeline things.
100%.
So we feel like the first.
Yes.
Which makes us, I think, feel very behind.
Yes.
And that's where a lot of my topics come from, is like, do I feel behind? Because, yeah, I have 4 things that as a 26-year-old, which mind you, like when I was 23, I was like, I have so much time. And then I blinked and I'm 26. And now like life is so crazy. But I wrote down 4 things that I feel I myself really feel a lot of pressure in, and that I think a lot of other people in their 20s feel a lot of pressure in. Mm-hmm. So there's the pressures from one, social media, but also being kind of the first generations to be changing the timeline of things. Mm-hmm. Okay. First, timeline of marriage, kids, and buying a house. Like I kind of wrap all those 3 things together. And the societal pressure is really, really tough for all 3 of those. Like I was saying to you yesterday, when I went to the gynecologist a few months ago.
I couldn't believe that.
She was like, well, she was like, do you want kids in your future? And I was like, I don't know. Like I'm 26. Like I have no idea. Meanwhile, a lot of people have kids at 26, but for me, it's so far. I have no idea if I want to have kids, especially not like I know I don't want kids now, but I don't know whatever. Anyway, she said, well, at 28, you should start thinking about freezing your eggs.
Yeah, that blew me away.
Crazy.
That blew me away.
It's crazy.
It just was not even, first of all, freezing your eggs when I was 28. Nobody did that. Wasn't a thing.
There's so much new technology with like babies.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a million conversations that even happen now that never would have happened when I was that age. Mm-hmm. So
the kids is a big one. The couple we were with last night, they're married. They're our age and they're married. Mm-hmm. And Sina, the girl, last night she was saying she's like all of her friends are getting engaged. So like it's just the time of age that people typically get engaged. I definitely want to be engaged to Matt and my boyfriend, but I don't know when it's going to happen. Right. But we're also not in a rush.
Right.
Also not like marriages are a really big commitment. I'm not going to rush into that just because the timing is right.
Right.
You know, it's a really big thing. And buying a house, a huge investment, like so much money.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, it's what you do. So just dump all your money into it.
Right.
Because that's the smart, quote unquote, thing to do.
Right.
Maybe it was smart, 40 years ago, but you've seen the market right now?
Right. It's the real estate market is definitely crazy. And also, I feel like in my case, for example, Daddy and I knew where we were going to be living. We knew we were close to his parents. We were close to my parents. There was no reason for us to go somewhere else. We were very settled in the area that we were in. So it was easy for us to look around and say, yeah, let's buy a house because we know we want to be here. I think there's a lot of people. Also, in my perspective, jobs, when someone got a job, you stay in it for 20 years. That does not happen anymore.
That's not happening now.
So this isn't really pertinent to the original question of how do you stop worrying about those things. But the only advice I can say is with the benefit of hindsight being 2020, there is no timeline. You don't really have to worry about all that stuff. Times are different than what they were, and if society being your parents or your parents' friends or
social media even,
but an older generation, or do you feel the pressure from your own peers?
Well, I see people my age hitting these milestones, quote unquote.
So you're putting the pressure on yourself because you see it happening around you.
And like even grandma's like, can't wait for my great grandkids.
I know.
Like, Grandma, you're going to be waiting a very long time. Like, I'm not doing, Maddie's not, like,
right.
It's not happening.
Right.
Ask Sarah and Nick. Like, it's not happening for a while.
And who knows what they're doing too?
Right.
Same thing. They're just in their early 20s. You know, whatever.
Those are my cousins, by the way.
Yes.
Sarah and Nick.
Yeah. So, yeah, society does put these pressures on, but I feel like the whole term society is so different now, because for us, society was, you know, your elders and, you know, these people in positions of authority, whatever. Now society is everyone around you.
Yes.
Because you see it on social media. So it's a very different pressure. I wouldn't want to be 26 for anything in the world right now in this world. I wouldn't want to do it. It was hard enough doing it once. Mm-hmm. But yeah, all I can say is you've got to just be true to yourself, and there is no timeline. I was telling you before about this analogy of a book. Okay, I read a lot. I'm going to use a book as an analogy. Everybody's life is a book. Some books have 10 chapters, some have 80. You can't possibly know what's coming next. So you have to have all the experiences that you can to write your own book. And with each chapter that comes, it's all new experiences. Like, yes, I went to college, graduated college, met Ross, got married. We had kids a year and a half later, et cetera, et cetera. And then my whole 30s was raising kids. My whole 40s was, I have teenage kids, and I could pick up hobbies for myself. That's when I started running and all that. And then in my 50s, kids are gone, like out of the house, but close by. I never would have seen this chapter coming, you know, but here we are doing this, and this is fun. Mm-hmm. But it isn't something I planned. It isn't something you can plan. You just have to let everything flow. And the thing I will say too is I think a lot of people see the get married, have kids as like, that's almost an end point of a part of their life. Mm. It isn't at all. Like, that is the biggest misnomer. People think that that's the pinnacle of some sort of achievement. It isn't, though. It is just the beginning. I mean,
I sometimes feel like that.
Yeah, it is so not the end.
I often feel like that.
Yeah, no, it's literally the beginning. And I said a lot when you and your sister both went to college, with her going off to Idaho and you going down to Alabama. You know, it's usually the parents' job to expose their kids to new adventures and things like that. You guys, through going to these really unique places that I never would have been before, you introduced us to whole new places. So it's like your life is so enriched in so many different ways by having kids. It isn't just a thing that you do. It just becomes a new life. Mm. So if you look at it as just a task that you have to check off a list, or an accomplishment that you have to do, you're not looking at it right.
That's really a good
Do you know what I mean?
Tip. Yeah.
Because I think that people think they have to get married because that's what people expect them to do.
Right.
But no, you're picking a partner for your whole life, someone to do life with. And you only get to do life once. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
So, and then when you have kids, again, it's something that you think you have to check off a list, but it isn't. Like, it's the beginning of a huge adventure.
Yeah.
So don't think of it as an end.
Are you getting emotional?
I am getting emotional.
Yeah, this is emotional.
Because it's awesome having kids.
Yeah.
But I would assume, I agree, it isn't for everybody. And especially now, it's really expensive. Kids take a lot of time, a lot of work. The pressure now of all the sports, the travel sports, and all this nonsense. I'm like, ugh.
And
God,
then
we didn't do that.
It's just hard to be a kid now too. Like, I really feel for kids. Like, adding social media on top of like trying to be a kid right now, and it's tough to be a kid.
Very hard.
Yeah, I feel for the kids.
Yeah, trying to raise good quality humans.
Yeah,
is a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always a challenge, but I think it's harder now.
You've done a great job.
I think I've done a pretty good job too. Mm-hmm. You've turned out really well, and your sister.
So
both good kids. Mm-hmm. Anyway, got a little off topic.
Hindsight, you would say?
Yeah, hindsight is a gift for sure. Being able to look back on things like that and bring a new perspective to it is easy now. And it's easy to say, don't stress about it. Things will come in time. That never helps. That's like telling someone who's anxious to calm down.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So you just look at it as a chapter. It's not the end of anything. It's just another chapter.
That's cool. Yeah, I really liked how you said it's not something to check off of a list.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. If it is, then think more about it. Like it isn't just something to do because society thinks you should.
Yeah.
And I would also say for a lot of people, I don't think marriage is for everyone either. Mm-hmm. I think there's an awful lot of people that can live very happily for years and years with a person without a piece of paper that society says you have to have. Mm-hmm. That 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people would be like, oh, the horror. But no, just
marriage is a big commitment.
Live your life. And divorce sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never.
Yeah, our family has not been touched by divorce, which is really rare.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Nobody.
Nope. No one.
It is very rare.
No one. Like, it really is crazy when you think about it. Not you and dad, not dad's side
siblings,
of the family,
not my
not
siblings,
your side, like
parents.
Neither grandparents, neither aunt and uncle. Like, that's very rare.
It is. So yeah, I remember Madeline coming home from school sometimes and saying, what's with all these, big families, step this and step that and half this and half that. And I'm like, sorry, we're really boring. We just have
just the four of us,
just your own regular brothers and sisters,
just
and that's
our
it.
Bloodline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yes, it is unusual.
Yeah, it is.
What are some other things that you stress about?
Yeah. So a big one that I definitely stress about, and I'm hoping that this, I don't know, comes with age. I don't know what. Saying no to people and being a people pleaser. Like, it's so difficult to do this. And like, I can think of like a situation going on right now where I really want to say no, but I know I would really disappoint this one person if I said no to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. It's annoying because it's almost like this person expects me to say yes when it wasn't anything I ever offered. They just know me, so they expect an answer to be yes.
And what would happen if you say no?
I mean, I can tell you more like off the podcast, but it would just be
just in general. I mean, would they genuinely be mad at you, or do you feel that they would be mad at you?
It's a complex, like,
so it isn't something we can
not really
hypothetical.
Not really.
Okay. I feel that too. The whole people pleasing thing. I was kind of brought up that way. Again, very traditional upbringing where women were definitely, I don't want to say subservient, bad
Mm-hmm.
word, but we always put ourselves second. So people pleasing is kind of ingrained in me. Hopefully I didn't do too much of that in you, but there's a fine line between asserting yourself and being, as women, we get called bitchy if we're too whatever. It is hard as a woman. Being assertive is a muscle you have to exercise just like anything else. And it's a dance to figure out where the appropriate line is, and it's different in every situation. So, does that get easier? Yeah, I guess it does. The older you get, you have less fucks to give, so you just don't give them anymore. And you're like, whatever. No, I'm not doing that. Think whatever you want, but I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. But in your case, there's, as you're trying to navigate through life and maybe trying to, climb a corporate ladder or get a certain job or this or that, there are people you don't want to piss off along the way. So I totally understand that. With age does come some sort of freedom in that, where you do get to say, I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah. I also find it easier. Maybe this is just like a perception I have, but when I have in the future, if I do have kids, get married, whatever, stuff like that, I feel like I could be like, oh, I can't because the kids, da-da-da. As like a single kidless person, I think people just assume I have nothing but time. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, why can't you do this thing for me? Or why can't I see you on this day? Or why is it a no? Like, it's just not, it's not a respected no.
Yeah. The only thing, I guess what I will say is, and I said this on last week's episode too, learning to say no and protect your peace. That goes along in this discussion too. The word no is a complete sentence. Like, you don't owe an explanation.
Yeah.
You've
been a big thing to learn.
given your answer. You know, can you do this for me? I'm sorry, I can't. That's an answer. And if they say why, just say, because I can't. I mean, it just doesn't work for me. I'm sure you can find someone else to do it or whatever.
Yeah.
So try and always remember that no is a complete answer. Now, granted, this is something that I've had to learn along the way too. And you have to exercise that. Do we want to get into that? My heart thing?
If you want.
Well, okay. Yeah. When I was 39, I had a heart attack, and it was a stress-induced episode that triggered a heart attack. So stress can absolutely do physical damage. So everybody needs to recognize that too. But it took that event in my life for me to be able to really learn to put my foot down. Because up until then I was on the board of our HOA at our other house. I was always volunteering at your school. I was doing all sorts of things. I think I guess I hadn't started Girls on the Run yet, but
not yet.
There were a lot of activities there I was involved with. We always had people over. Every time Daddy was like, can you do this? Can you do that? Whatever. I was always like, yes, I'm home with the kids. This is my job. Right.
We got 2 puppies.
Yes. We had 2 puppies at the time.
You were in a lawsuit with the contractor.
That was what triggered the whole thing. Yeah. We were redoing the kitchen and I had a lawsuit going. It was bad. It was a very stressful time. So it took that drastic health event for me to be able to stand up and say, I'm drawing a line. I can't do this anymore. Like, that's when I resigned my place on the board, and that didn't go over well with some of the other board members. They were like, oh, well, your term's not up. I'm like, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm taking this off my plate. So, I mean, everybody only has whatever cup they have. It can only be so full. So, you've got to assert yourself to not let yourself overflow and gyp yourself out of whatever quality of life.
So when you did start saying no, was it really unnatural? Like, how did you begin?
Yes, it did feel very unnatural. And then when there was, like, say it was an event and they're like, can you help with it? Bring cookies in for this or that. I'm like, no, I'm not overextending myself anymore. Then that event would come and I would take you kids to it or something. And I'm like, I feel so guilty that I didn't participate in this, that I didn't do it. But then you look around and you realize there was enough without me. Do you know what I mean? They didn't need me. It's okay. Everything worked out fine. And I, instead of scrambling around to get this done and creating stress for myself, now I have the time to bring you to it and enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Were you ever mad that people were mad at you when you would say no?
It hurt. Yes, it hurt. I mean, your ego gets hurt when people look at you like, ugh, you're letting me down.
Disappointed, yeah.
That's the worst feeling. It's a very bad feeling. But no, you're protecting your peace. And now it's much easier for me to say that. And it's much easier for me to avoid situations that I don't want to be in. Like, even if Daddy wants to go somewhere, let's go somewhere and have a drink. And I'm like, I'm trying not to drink now. No, I'm not going. And he says, but I want to spend time with you. I do too, but I don't want to do it around alcohol. And he's like, well, I like watching the game with people. Well, then be my guest. You can go. And it becomes a situation, but I am very firm sometimes putting my foot down and saying, it sounds like fun, but I'm not going to do it. Like, I can't do it.
So it gets easier.
It does get easier. And it does, once you do it and you reap the benefit from it, you feel it, you feel the relief from letting it go. It makes it that much easier.
So it's a no period, not a no comma because da-da-da.
Correct. When possible, just remember that no is a complete sentence.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. All right. Another one that I have. I feel a lot of social anxiety from others. Meaning like I find myself feeling really inferior to others. Like other people deserve to be somewhere more than I do. Meaning like even in public. And I know we've talked about this off the podcast too. Like if I'm on the trail and I'm walking and I see someone walking towards me, like I'll make myself as small as possible so that I'm not taking up too much of the trail. Meanwhile, they'll walk in the middle of the trail like they own the whole trail. Like I just feel like I make myself smaller to make other people feel more comfortable.
I feel that. I still do that too. I don't know whether that's imposter syndrome that just lives your whole life. Like, what am I doing here? Do I have a right to be here?
Right.
I mean, I feel that even just like walking into your apartment building today.
Right. No, when I moved in, I was like, who am I to be here?
Right. Yeah. Just me walking in with stuff, carrying bags in. I'm like, oh, people probably think I don't belong here. And I'm like,
right.
Who cares?
Right.
Like, yeah. I still get those feelings too. And I think that's part of being female that I think it happens 99 times to women versus 1 to men.
Yeah.
Who says, I don't have a right to be here. And that I don't know if I don't have a solution for that. That has not gone away from me as I have aged.
Darn.
I'm sorry to say.
Darn.
But what I will say that goes along with assertiveness is a muscle that you need to exercise. And like things like the trail and like sidewalks, walking with the dogs, I'm always going way off over to the side to let people pass. And they just walk arm in arm, too wide, whatever. And I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm just going to bump into people, But that's also the point of having way less fucks to give. So I'm just like, I don't care anymore. And also I'm like, isn't the white hair supposed to buy me some courtesy?
Totally.
You're supposed to move for me.
Totally.
But no.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like we were raised, and this is not like a bad thing, but we were raised that you always speak to people old, like your senior, with respect. And even now what's so weird is like owning studios, I'll have clients come in that are older than me and I still talk to them like, they're the ones in charge of me. It feels like, which is so wild.
Yeah. I do remember that when you were first starting out in Phoenixville and like workmen would come in and they would look at me and talk to me. And I was like, she's the boss. You got to talk to this one.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah. But anyway, that one I think just takes practice to assert yourself. And I don't know whether there's a little mantra you can say and be like, yeah, I have every right. I'm welcome to be here just like everyone else.
Right.
But yeah, whenever I'm in a new environment, I feel that way. Like I'm not a big coffee drinker. I don't go into, I'm so intimidated by going into Starbucks.
Well, Starbucks is so stupid.
Well, but it's its own culture.
Yeah, it's actually out of control. Like Starbucks needs to be stopped.
And it's just very strange. I don't drink coffee. I'll have a decaf once in a while.
Right.
God forbid I ask for a decaf. They look at me like I have 4 heads. I'm like, just make my coffee.
Yeah, it might just be an uncomfortable thing because I remember when I first like stopped drinking, I felt so uncomfortable and then I just stopped caring.
Right.
So, yeah, I do think it just comes with being comfortable and like in your surroundings. Maybe it's just like whenever you're outside of what you're comfortable and you just kind of feel like an outsider.
Yeah.
Maybe that never goes away. Maybe it does. But if it does, we just haven't hit that point
No,
yet.
that's true. And one thing that goes along with that, like your comfort zone is an expandable and retractable zone. Like at certain points in your life, like when you're in college, your entire college campus can be your comfort zone. That's you have a big bubble. That you're like, okay, I'm good with everything that happens in here.
Right.
Or relatively comfortable with, or you know what to expect. Then when you move out and you're in an apartment and you're like, I work from home, I do this from home, whatever. Then all of a sudden your comfort zone has shrunk to this tiny little thing. So, and that will change many times over your life. So, embrace your comfort zone, but understand what your boundaries are. And then realize that, oh, wait, I used to be comfortable doing this. I'm not anymore because my life has shrunk. Just go push it back out. Push your walls out again.
Yeah.
So that'll happen multiple times.
I have one more thing.
Yes.
For in your 20s.
Okay.
feeling pressure to be in a career by, let's say, 30. And also, like, making six figures is always like what everyone wants. Everyone wants six figures. Everyone wants like right when they get out of college, they want six figures. If you're not making six figures, everyone's like, oh, just hustle till you do. Like, there's that side of it. But then there's also women now are expected to be a career and a mom, which, you know, is a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up with a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine
No.
not having a mom at home. Like, if I forgot my lunch at home, like, I knew you were there. If I needed a ride from school, I knew you were there. Like, I can't imagine not having a stay-at-home mom just because that's how I was raised. And like Matt, for example, his mom was a working mom. So when he got done school, he would go to his neighbor's house or his grandma would pick him up. Or like, that's so bizarre to me. I even remember like before school that one, like you and Maggie would try and do like, you would switch off days of who would have each other. Like sometimes Thomas would come over before school so that maybe she could go to a workout and vice versa or whatever.
Right.
We never wanted to do it because Thomas and I were just so used to like just being home with our moms. So anyway, I'm off topic now, but the pressure to get a career / and or be a mom, sometimes both, and make six figures.
Yeah. That's just way too much pressure.
Yeah.
It's too much. And I think there's like going back to the first part of this topic that we talked about, the timeline doesn't mean anything anymore. I think everybody has to do what they want to do on their own pace. You know, you need to be productive. You need to be self-reliant. You need to be somewhat independent. Like there are certain must-haves for you to be a successful human. And those things need to be achieved. But it's not the same for everybody. Those items aren't the same for everybody, and the timeline's not the same for everybody. So as long as you accomplish those things at some point, you're fine. Like, stop worrying about when.
There's so much pressure. The instant gratification, like, we're all obsessed with it.
Yeah. Also, the fact that society has changed so much in the last 30 years. I mean, you guys are in the brunt of it. When Daddy went to college and got out, there were tons of corporate jobs to be had.
Right.
Companies were growing. People are hiring. The internet is becoming this thing, you know, whatever. It didn't exist before. It's boggling to think 30 years ago what life was like.
Yeah.
Versus now. Like so much has changed. And I went to an all-girls high school.
We have to talk about that.
Yeah.
The differences.
Where the whole women's lib thing was fresh on everybody's minds. Like, oh, you can go be anything. You can go be anything. Well, the fact that I actually wanted to be a mom, I was practically shunned from everybody I went to high school with because what a waste to just be a mom. And I just find that so offensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I have made greater contributions to the world by raising two good kids than I could have done working as a operations manager for a retail company or whatever I was doing.
Right.
That wouldn't have changed the world. But this can.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, being a mom is such an important job.
Yeah.
And I have a friend right now that's transitioning from being a working mom to a stay-at-home mom. And she's saying how like it's the craziest change and like the pressure and the guilt that she feels doing that is insane.
Is she having trouble with it?
She loves it. Like she's like, I wish I did it sooner.
Good.
But in the back of her mind, she's like, should I be monetizing this somehow?
Oh, yeah. Because that's
what you do. Now
everything is monetized.
Yeah, come along with me. I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
And it's like, thank God you weren't a mommy blogger because I wouldn't have want my whole childhood on the internet without my approval. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And
even though I did put my childhood on the internet, I was 13 because I wanted to.
You made the choice. And you also chose to remain as anonymous as you could in the beginning of doing that. So, everybody has to go, like I said, at your own pace.
Mm-hmm.
Most 13-year-olds aren't going to choose to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine.
Well, back then, I think now they would.
Now everybody
would.
Now
I remember when I was like 18 or 19, people started saying that they wanted to be YouTubers. I was like, you guys know I used to be bullied for this, right? Like, this was not the cool thing to do.
Yeah, that was atrocious for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to hide that was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, we keep digressing from the original topic, but
I think you nailed it. Maybe even with the first question of there's no timeline.
There's no timeline. Yeah,
which is a tough pill to swallow.
It is.
It's a hard truth.
It is, and it's easy for me to say because it just doesn't apply to me anymore.
Right.
And my life followed a very traditional path.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess people look at me as the problem, not the cure. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Like they're like, oh, you don't get it. You did everything on the timeline that everybody's supposed to do.
I see that argument.
And I did, but at the same time, like I was saying, once the kids are born, your path goes all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
The kids lead the path then, and that's fine.
We should do a whole other episode on like kids, like becoming a mom, things like that.
That was actually one of the questions we got too. Somebody said, how do you know when is the right time to have kids? Like, is there ever a right time?
I definitely think we should save that for another episode.
Yeah, I guess we will save that. Sorry. You'll have to tune in.
Well, that's all. That's everything I wrote down.
Yeah, that's it for today, right? That's all we had to talk about.
I mean, yeah, this was an hour and 10 minutes. So
we're
good.
Gonna have to cut it out.
We'll
have to cut something
out.
No,
we won't have to cut it because I got the YouTube verified, so I can post
so now we can
videos.
Do it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. They like us now. Yeah.
Good.
Mom, this was like such a fun episode.
Yeah, this one was good. I hope it was helpful.
I got
You got something out of it?
So
okay, good.
Hopefully if I did, someone else did too.
Good.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to Let Me Call My Mom podcast.
Yes. Always fun.
It's always so much fun. And yeah, I love this podcast. It's so much fun to do. And we just get to hang out together and spend so much time together.
We're lucky.
We are lucky. And the apartment smells amazing right now.
It does smell so good.
All right, guys. We'll see you all next week. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend.
Yes, indeed.
And we'll talk to you next weekend.
Bye.
Bye.